Hello everyone, and welcome to our video for Tuesday, June 8th. I lost track of my days. Alright, so a lot going on, a lot of news, and so we're going to dig right into this here. First of all, as I posted the thumbnail for this video, plus top of the board, yeah, the league is going to try to do an official podcast again. I say again because for those of you who don't know, and a lot of you don't, there was a brief period of time where there was a podcast last year called the Unsportsmanlike Podcast, and it was supposed to be an official podcast for the FPHL. Didn't do well, and 5 weeks in they pulled the plug. So this time they're going with an individual entity, but it's going to be official for the Fed. So basically, the talking points are going to be given to Swan Hockey, who is going to be doing this, and it'll be called Beyond the Glass. So when it starts exactly, hasn't been announced. What platforms it'll be on exactly hasn't been announced yet. However, Swan Hockey has already done other podcasts related to hockey on Spotify. So I would imagine Spotify is going to be one of the platforms that this will be on. That's my guess anyway. So when it's announced, I'll let you know. We'll see how it goes. All right, Indiana. They announced today that Britt Morgan has joined the team in the role of minority owner. So we have our two primary owners, Gavin and Garrett Campbell. So now Britt Morgan will be serving in a minority capacity as well, but she'll also be actively working with the club, judging off of what Indiana posted today, touting her background in marketing and broadcasting and whatnot. So even though she's a minority owner, she's going to be hands-on. So that helps round out the behind-the-scenes group for Indiana, and so there's that. Okay, so let's get into these transactions because there's a ton of them. I'm gonna kind of gloss over this because it's so many. The Biloxi has been very, very busy. They've made a lot of moves. They've signed goaltender Elwa Bouchard, former Watertown Wolf, defenseman Declan Flanagan, former Watertown Wolf. Notice a theme. Anton Kalinin, former Delaware Thunder, and forward Evgeny Demine, also former Delaware Thunder player. Either former teammates of Charlie Penns Jr., the new coach, or played for Charlie Penns in Watertown. Now today, he also released a couple of players that were on the Seawolves squad last year, Carter Aha and Richie Perron. They will not be returning. A lot of people have said, wow, there's a lot of former Watertown players on the roster. Why is that? Well, before everything got blown up in Watertown this last year, Charlie Penns was fired, and there was it was an internal coup d'etat. That's what it was. Anyway, when he was fired, Charlie Penns Jr., the team was 11-5-1, and they were averaging 5.8 goals scored per game, They were only surrendering, I think, 3.2 per game. So the team was very good. And I commented on a thread. This is my feelings. If things hadn't gotten blown up in Watertown, I feel like the best two teams in the league last year would have been Binghamton and Watertown. But everything got blown up, everything changed, and they turned out the way they did. So anyway, there we go. We'll talk about the trade in just a little bit. Port Huron, they've been busy as well. They have re-signed forward Dylan Marty, who had 8 points in 15 games played. They've re-signed 3 big defensive men. This is really big in my mind. The most important signings. Brett Lockhart, he had 21 points and a plus 21 rating last year. Probably their best defensive end. Timothy Organ, he's back. One of the guys that signed from Trine University last year. Played in 5 games, played very well. Ben Brockway is back. Of course, we know about him. 32 games played, 5 points, 75 penalty minutes. He brings the grit. And, of course, Captain Austin Federley. This will be his 10th season as a Prowler, and he had 53 points in 55 games last year. So, yeah, Port Huron, a lot of people back. Let's see, who else? We have Monroe. They added 3 players. First, their captain, Frank Schumacher, defenseman, 52 games played. He had 27 assists and was one of the real leaders on the club. Well, that's why he was the captain. So, yeah, he's back. And a couple of new faces. First, defenseman Aro Tuvanen, I believe, is how you pronounce it. Finnish-born player, played in Finland quite a few years, and last year he was with the Wasaga River Dragons of GMHL. Yeah, there was an affiliate. It's kind of strange. There was an affiliation between Wasaga and the Columbus River Dragons, and somebody from Wasaga is signing with Monroe. Okay, so also signing was forward AJ Schlepp. He's one of the Ice Wars guy. Big dude, 6'8". So yeah, he's gonna bring the size. So Monroe signed him. All right, also signed today in PD, Dustin Jasso. He said, "Yep, I'm coming," and coming back for his 7th Fed season. Last season, 40 games played, which was the most games he's played in any year in the Fed, because he's had a full-time job, so he's been kind of, not exactly a part-time player. I don't want to say that, but he didn't travel much because he had a full-time job. So anyway, 40 games played, 26 goals, 39 assists, 65 points altogether. That's an average of 2.1 goals per game, points per game. So yeah, Jasso, one of the most talented players in the FPHL. Also joining the Ice Cats is Georgi Kuzin. He played last couple of years in the MNHL, which that is the 4th highest league in Russia. You have the KHL, which you probably heard of. Then there's the VHL, the MHL, and then the MNHL. So he played very well. Good defenseman there. Good puck mover. Let's see, who else? Blue Ridge Bobcats announced today that they have re-signed Nick McHugh, or Q as he's commonly known, real spark plug for the Bobcats. And Binghamton signed a new face. It wasn't a returning player, it was a new face. Tim Kim. Yes, Timothy Kim. Young guy, 21 years old. He's played in the British Columbia Hockey League and the Alberta Junior Hockey League. 2 pretty good Junior A programs there. So he's got good experience at a high competitive level. and so this is his first year pro. All right, so that's a lot of the signings. Now, we did have a trade today. The Biloxi Breakers obtained Jackson Bond. Yes, Bond is coming back to the Gulf Coast. So a lot of happy people in Mississippi, I'm sure. In exchange, the all familiar future considerations going to the Baton Rouge Zydeco. Bond had some injuries last year, was only able to play 15 games, but last I heard, he is back to form, and I'm sure he is very much looking forward to getting back in the Mississippi Coast Coliseum. So he was a fan favorite. A lot of people just went nuts when he and Kuznetsov and somebody else, I forgot. There were 3 players that were traded to Baton Rouge, and everyone went, why? So Bond is back, so that's good. All right, so yeah, let's talk about the Motor City Rockers. Well, we're not exactly talking about the Rockers, but we're talking about a couple of their players. For those of you who don't know, there's an organization called the Michigan Independent Hockey League. It's a Senior A league. It's most people consider it one step below the Fed. All right, a lot of players from both the MIHL and the other Senior A league, the APHL, ended up getting jobs and earning roster spots in the Fed last year. So the MIHL has been growing, and they originally granted an expansion team to Flint, Michigan. They were going to be named the Shadow. Well, they kept the name, but when the whole thing went down with the Rockers, they moved down to Big Boy Arena. So yes, the Michigan Shadow will be playing in Big Boy Arena, and there will be a couple of familiar faces. There will be a lot of familiar faces, but the 2 that are already signed, former Rocker captain Jameson Milan and Jonathan Giuliano, who played, I believe, if I remember correctly, 380 Fed games altogether. So those 2 players, both Rockers for the first couple of years of the Rockers' existence, they will be playing for the Shadow. So that brings a couple of big familiar faces into the Big Boy Arena. I have been told that several other Rockers players that did not continue their Fed career will be playing. Now, I did ask my source, I have a source close to the team. I said, is Danny Vanderweel coming back? Former captain of the Rockers. He said no. Vanderweel still has concussion issues, and besides, he's coaching an underage team and having a blast doing that. So he's still continuing in hockey. He's just not playing. But anyway, so yeah, Vanderweel and Vandy will not be playing for the Shadow, but I am told that there will be other former Rockers joining the Shadow. So it's kind of interesting. All right, final thing in the news. Elmira was in the news this week, and I kind of jumped the gun when I first heard the news, and then when I heard the press conference afterwards, like, okay, I understand where they're going here. So this is big news, though. A lot of the problems that we had in Elmira was the fact that the arena was owned by a quasi-government entity called the Chemung County Industrial Development Authority. They didn't exactly take well to FPHL hockey. They've had some bad experiences, but lo and behold, what was called First Arena, it's now called the Lecom Event Center. It's now under private ownership management. So yeah, the CCIDA no longer operates Lecom. Now it's owned by a couple of people. It's owned by the people who own the Elmira Aviators MIHL junior team. All right, and they are very committed at this point in time to developing and expanding their junior program. They've got the NAHL team. They've got the NA3 team. They were the Binghamton Buzz last year, and now they've moved to Elmira. So you've got an NA3 team, and there's also going to be a youth academy, a hockey academy set up, and they'll be playing at Lecom. So right now, at this stage in time, no, the Fed's not returning to Elmira. Maybe, possibly, down the road, could be a possibility. If the right ownership comes in, if the right ownership group of a hockey team comes in with the right people, maybe the Fed could return to Elmira in the future. It definitely wasn't going to happen with the CCIDA in control. But now that it's private ownership, maybe. Again, right now they are 100% committed to junior hockey, so we'll see how their endeavors go. You've got to try it first, see how it floats. So we will see. All right. So that's everything that's gone on the last few days. I do want to tease real quick the next video I'm doing, which will be on Saturday. And I think you'll be very interested in this. And I'll explain more when we get to the video, when we get to Saturday. But tune in here on YouTube. Make sure you're watching. So I will do a video. Can a 20-team FPHL work? Yes, I believe it can, and I'll tell you how. All right, so make sure to join me for that. Deeply appreciate that, and thank you for tuning in today. Make sure you're hitting like and subscribe. Most importantly, make sure you're following me on Facebook. That's where all the news gets printed first. And you can also follow me on the Flash Audio Network. The links are on my Facebook page. We will have a report, an update on Thursday with the news that takes place between now and then. So tune in to the Flash Audio Network. We'll be using that a lot more when the season begins. Right now we're just doing once a week on the Flash Audio Network. Okay, that's it. I am Gary Ryan for the Fed League Flash. Again, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate all of you, all viewers, people who interact with me on Messenger, through Facebook. Very much appreciated, and thank you to all of you. All right, have yourselves a wonderful next few days of the week.